Mother 3 is a video game that was released in Japan only for the Game Boy Advance in 2006. It is the Japan-only sequel to a Super Nintendo game that was released in North America called Earthbound. Now, when Earthbound was brought over to America, Nintendo of America had high expectations for it to do well. However, due to their poor advertising for the game did not sell well in America at all, never took off, and Nintendo dismissed it as a commercial failure. However, this didn't change the fact that a cult following for the game had sparked up on early internet sites as well as, other communities, and so spawned one of the earliest Mother fan sites, and also the biggest of today, Starman.net, known as Earthbound.net at the time. After the release of the Nintendo 64, rumors sparked up for a potential sequel to Earthbound for the Nintendo 64. And then at a Japanese convention called Space World in 1999, there was a playable demo of a Nintendo 64 Mother 3. This game was going to be a launch title for the Nintendo 64 disk drive accessory, and it was going to be a full-length RPG spanning 12 chapters, being absolutely huge. This game changed up the formula a little bit from previous installments. Rather than being in modern-day America battling space aliens with, your psychic powers, it seemed to take place in a more old-world type setting, and it seemed to involve magic and thieves and things like that. It seemed to be a very different game, but it was also pretty unique. Now, as I said before, this game is stated to be a launch title for the N64 disk drive. However, it kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed, and it was no longer going to be a launch title for the N64 disk drive. The N64 disk drive eventually met its demise in Japan, not being a good-selling accessory at all. Just like a lot of other accessories Nintendo's come out with over the years, like the e-reader. So, Mother 3 was downsized to being a cartridge-based N64 game, and it was stated to come out in 2000. Now, 2000 passed, there was nothing said about Mother 3, and then eventually, the game had been delayed so far back in release that it was going to come out after the release of the GameCube. Nintendo decided they didn't want this to happen, so there was a meeting in August of 2001 to decide the fate of Mother 3. The verdict came out saying that the game would be indefinitely cancelled. It would never be released. This hit a lot of fans of the Mother series hard, since with the release of Super Smash Bros., many new Mother fans had been spawned from that game. In fact, the Mother 3 cancellation is one of the reasons why Super Smash Bros. Melee came out a little bit later than the GameCube. They originally wanted to have Lucas as a playable character in Super Smash Bros. Melee, but then they had to go back to having Ness because Mother 3 was cancelled in Japan. Now, eventually, Mother 1 and 2 were re-released on the Game Boy Advance in 2003. It had a few new features that the original games did not have, but overall it was just a compilation. But what sparked a lot of people's interest was, at the end of the commercial for this compilation game in Japan, they said they were also making Mother 3 for the Game Boy Advance. Now everyone was just like, whoa, wait, it was a Nintendo 64 game and now it's being made for the Game Boy Advance. How exactly is that going to work? Well, I can't wait to see some images and some media of this. Well, we waited, and we waited. We waited. We went about 2.5 years without hearing a thing, and many people, including myself, thought the game was cancelled, it was never going to come out, and Nintendo just didn't have the guts to tell us. Until a really weird webpage popped up on Nintendo of Japan's website at the end of 2005 saying that Mother 3 was almost completed and it was going to be released in spring of 2006. Now, about 3 weeks passed after that website popped up, and it confirmed an official release date of April 20th, 2006. And after a while, music samples from the game popped up on that page, screenshots appeared, and when the first screenshots appeared, we were very surprised by what we saw. The game had a much higher level of graphic detail than Earthbound or any other game in the series, since it was half developed by Brownie Brown, a developer who is legendary in Japan for their really high level of detail in sprites and sprite animation. And it seemed to stick true to the N64 version. We saw a cowboy named Flint, we saw his two twin sons, Lucas and Klaus, we saw his dog Boney, we saw a thief named Duster, we saw all those characters that were in the N64 version, and we recognized even some areas from the N64 screenshots. Now, with the release of the game in Japan, a lot of fans were hopeful for it to come out in America. However, some fans were also very pessimistic, thinking the game would never come out in America, and Nintendo of America was just going to pay no mind to it. This spawned another Mother fan site, known as Mother3.org. They were going to be making a ROM hack translation of the game that was, to be a free download. It was just going to be a file, not included with a ROM or anything. It was going to be a perfectly legal file. This game was very difficult for this fan translation team to hack, and like most other fan translations, it was expected to take as long as 5 or 6 years. Starman.net, the largest mother site on the internet, decided that they were going to give Nintendo a shot and see if they were going to translate the game and not start a fan translation, not start any petitions, nothing. Eventually, in November of 2007, the last Game Boy Advance game, Avatar, came out, and there still had been no word of Mother 3 coming out in America. Eventually, the final nail in the coffin was an interview with a Nintendo of America employee from the NOA Treehouse who said, "I am not working on Mother 3, none of my colleagues are working on Mother 3, and they haven't even told us anything about Mother 3. So, Starman.net chose to team up with Mother3.org so that the two teams could finish the game faster. Starman.net contributed greatly to the translation, considering they had many members who were very good at this kind of hacking, and they also had professional translators such as the administrator, Tomato, who even works for Funimation and has contributed his translation work to such animes as Dragon Ball Z, Detective Conan, and I also believe the Funimation version of One Piece. Well, now that I've told you all this, the translation is going to be coming out in probably the next 2 or 3 weeks, possibly sooner. Now that it is finally finished, it's been a very difficult road for the hackers. But what I'm here to tell you is, after all that story, I'm here to tell you what Mother 3 is, alright? Many of you know little to nothing about this game. Many of you haven't even seen anything from this game. Many of you are skeptical about me choosing it for my next Let's Play. Well, let me go ahead and start with the gameplay. As you know, Mother 3 is an RPG, but what sets it apart from other RPGs is it's actually a rhythm-based RPG. There's several songs that play during battles, as much as 30 or 40 if I remember correctly. And every song has a subliminal beat that you can hear underneath the BGM. You tap the A button when you attack alongside these beats, and if you do it right, you can pull off huge combo attacks, which is just really fun to do, and it's really cool to learn all the songs. As for other aspects of the gameplay, it's very exploration-based. You are put in like this one town, and you have to like explore the area around it, and as you get farther in the game, you can go farther and farther away and explore the different areas that are around the outskirts of this town in this unknown land. It's kind of like Link to the Past in that sense. If you like Link to the Past, you're going to love this game. I suppose next I could talk about the dialogue. The dialogue in this game, very funny. In fact, it's what the other 2 games in the series were legendary for. Almost all the lines in the series are written by a man named Shigesato Itoi, real comedic genius. You really should read some of the dialogue in these games. This game is never boring because of this. You're always walking around, you're always just curious about what everyone has to say, because everyone just seems to have something really funny and smart to say that you'd never expect. Now, with all the writing that I was just talking about, I'd like to get into the story next. This is one of the most story-driven games you are ever going to play. And it's so well written that it's going to have you wondering what happens next, and just, what could happen to the characters and everything. In fact, you're thrown into the game without much backstory, and a lot of the backstory is revealed alongside while you play. Now, if you liked how this was done in Cave Story, chances are you're going to like this game quite a bit. In fact, if you like the story in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 2, I can tell you're going to like this game because of how that game's plot was revealed backwards. I suppose I could also mention the soundtrack as well as the graphics now. The soundtrack is one of the most expensive you're going to hear in any game. This game's OST is 250 tracks. Absolutely huge OST. A lot of the songs are unforgettable. Some of them are original tracks, some are remixes from the previous games in the series, and you're just going to love that when you're just playing along and all of a sudden you happen to hear a remix from a previous game just in an unexpected location. The diversity in music is just amazing, and the same goes for the graphics. The graphics just are some of the better sprites you're going to see on the Game Boy Advance. Really colorful environments. Really immersive is what I can describe them as. Overall, this game is just a fantastic experience, and I would recommend it to anyone who has liked any of the games I've played so far. And like I said, if you love the dialogue in games such as Banjo-Kazooie or Paper Mario 2, you're going to love this game. You're just going to love it to death with its humor and witty dialogue. If you liked the exploration in games such as Link to the Past or any Zelda for that matter, this game should play out very nicely for you. Heck, like I said, if you liked the way that the plot was revealed in Cave Story, you're going to love this game. It's kind of a weird way to compare those games and everything, though, but you guys will see what I mean when I talk about it. I'm not going to spoil anything about the story, though, but this game is so immersive that there's going to be times when you're laughing out loud with the characters, having a great time. Other times when you're crying over what just happened. Other times when you are just scared for the characters' lives and wondering what's going to happen. it's just overall a great experience, and it was very wrongfully neglected by Nintendo of America. But anyway, the translation is going to be released in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. You can see a link to the website where it's going to be posted when it comes out. I'm going to be Let's Playing it, and I'm going to update with 1 episode of Mother 3 per day, alongside 1 episode of Super Mario RPG each day. Then when Super Mario RPG is finished, Mother 3 is going to get 2 episodes on weekends and Fridays, alright? So anyway, this is Trigger Conroy. I hope to see all of you guys playing this game alongside me when it comes out, and I'll see you guys later.